Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. This is the #1 daily radio show for realtors looking for a no BS, authentic, real-time coaching experience. What's really working in today's market, how to generate more leads, make more money, and have more time for what you love in your life. And now your hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
We are back, and Julie, I am so tremendously excited about today's podcast because we're going to be talking about something that I know once these guys have the idea firmly implant itself in their brains, they're too going to be equally as excited because this one listing tool, that's what it is today. We're telling you guys about the ultimate listing tool. This one listing tool is going to oftentimes, well, it's really a lead generation system. It's really truly what it is. But where I loved using it, frankly, was when we would go on listing appointments.
That was the most fun part.
Oh, I mean, I have to look. We have to do our introduction so then I can start telling stories.
Because you're excited.
I am excited.
As am I.
Well, it's because I remember all the times you got me doing it. Well, I'll do it anyway. So I remember all the times when you and I would go on listing appointments, and the seller would kind of glare at us, especially when we were new agents or just really starting to kick ass being listing agents. And remember, guys, Julie and I sold between 100 and 200 homes per year for about 10 years. And we sold over 100 homes our first year in the business, which by all measures still is the record for a first agent in individual production. These were single family homes. These were not condos, a subdivision. We didn't list a farm field that got subdivided into lots. These were individual owners. So one of the questions that we always lived in fear of, getting, or, a version of it is, why should I list with you guys, especially because Julie and I at the time were in our early 20s and we looked like we were still in high school. Why should I list with you versus XYZ who's been in the market forever? Or what makes you different? What makes you special? Why you? And when Julie and I discovered what we're going to be sharing with you guys today, not only did we look forward to the question, but oftentimes we would bring it up before they even asked the question. We would say, so Mr. Seller, you're probably actually thinking to yourself, what makes Tim and Julie different from everybody else? Like I asked the big, elephant question, remove it from the room.
You created the objection.
Which probably is not good salesmanship, but it tells you how excited I was to overcome the objection.
That's right. Now, what are we talking about? 1-800-HOME-HOTLINE.com. That is the number 1-800 and then spelled normally homehotline.com.
The link is down below, guys. So just scroll down. You'll see the link to this product. And full disclosure, Julie and I do own half of the company, 1-800-HOMEHOTLINE.com. We actually are partners with it and a friend of ours that we know from high school, Carl. But in any event, so 1-800-HOMEHOTLINE.com is the modern, and we just updated it. The whole product has been updated with all new technology and all kinds of cool things and features we're going to tell you about. But ultimately, this really truly is not just a killer listing tool, but it's probably one of the most effective lead generation systems on the marketplace. And the best price, guys, it's only $37 a month.
That's right. So I know all of you want to generate leads for nearly free, $37 a month. I mean, that is practically free. That is as inexpensively as we can bring it to you. This gets you into control of your business. Remember, we're always telling you to use the mantra, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. So be proactive, be a proactive lead generator so you have fewer expenses for each transaction. So let's get down to it. How can you use 1-800-HOME-HOTLINE to generate more business for $37 a month?
Okay, so we're going to give you the easiest way to use it as a tool overall. And we talked about this on the podcast yesterday, actually. On your for sale signs, and if you want to, Julie and I have a lot of coaching and training because a for sale sign is without a doubt the most powerful really marketing tool an agent will ever have. I mean, you literally have a billboard in the front of a residential home, and we joke, but it's true. How much would pick your big company pay to have to put how much would Google pay to put an ad in the front of your house?
Yeah, gajillions.
Or Coca-Cola or KFC or whoever, right? It's worth so much money. So your for sale sign, bless our real estate forefathers, right?
Yes.
Is something that's legal in virtually all real estate markets, and you want to exploit the most of that. We have something called, how to hot ride your for sale sign. There's past podcasts on that. Premier coaching clients, obviously, you can see actual pictures and such. But here's the thing. The most I would say, depending on your state laws, the most prominent thing that should be on your sign is your 1-800-HOME-HOTLINE number. So what in essence is, and here's what I want you to visualize. A big for sale sign, ideally a reflective real estate sign, metal sign. And on the top of the sign, and don't change the language. This has been tested. Don't change what I'm saying. You got to do it exactly like I'm describing. Otherwise, it's not going to work as it historically has. On the top of the sign, I want you to have a sign writer made, have the sign writer be as large as you can put on the sign, and it has to be some obnoxious color that no one can miss. And I'm talking fluorescent color. It should say, for free 24-hour recorded info on this home, call. Don't say please, because you can't put too many words on it. It'll be hard to read. And then when you're a 1-800-HOME-HOTLINE.com customer, you're going to have your own dedicated, it might be 888 or 877 or whatever, but you're going to have your own toll-free number that's going to be assigned to you. So for free 24-hour recorded info on this home, call 1-800-555-1212, and then an extension. The extension might be 456, whatever
and
it
the
is.
extension goes for the house.
Extension goes to the house. Somebody's parked in front of that sign, and they're going to call. And what's going to happen is this is what their experience is going to be. Now, I want you guys to understand something before I give you this, before I kind of walk you down how this actually will work from the consumer's perspective. The best buyers are driving the neighborhoods. The worst buyers are looking online. Just be very clear in your head.
Very, very clear. Very true. Many of you have lived this. You know it to be true. What did you just say? The best buyers are driving their favorite neighborhoods. They know they want to live there. They're literally waiting for the next listing to pop up. They're driving home after work. They're driving around in the evening. They're driving around on the weekends. They're looking for open houses. They're looking in that neighborhood. The worst, least qualified, least motivated are just screwing around online.
Well, think about it. It's a filtering process that the buyers put themselves through. Remember, depending on a lot of those buyers, depending on the price point, are also going to be sellers. So 50% of the buyers, if you're selling in a move-up neighborhood, are also going to be sellers. So you're not just dealing with buyers, you're dealing with sellers. And we always want you to gear your dominant thinking towards getting a listing, not getting a buyer. Julie, you want to say something?
Well, just before, because I know that you're going to give them the scenario and some scripting and look at this as a tool, and I know you're excited. Before you get to that, first question is, what exactly is 1-800-HOME-HOTLINE? It is your dedicated phone number that you own. It is independent of your broker's phone number and independent of your cell phone number that you can use many, many different ways. And we're just going to sprinkle a few of the most powerful ways on you today. It is an additional phone number for you and should be the prominent, dominant phone number on all of your marketing, your signs, etc. The extension goes with the house or a piece of marketing or something like that. But the 800 number doesn't change. That's always the same one, and you use it for everything.
Right. So when you're getting these signs, when you're getting the sign writers made, and you're say your real estate magic number is 15 listings, we'll have 20 writers made and have the first extension be 1, 2, 3, 4, and the next extension be 5, 6, 7, 8. You guys get the idea. I know some of you are confused right now. I would be too if I were you. Don't worry about it. Just get the overall concept. And then when you subscribe to 1-800-HOME-HOTLINE.com, it'll all gel in your mind. But here's what just be very clear about what Jules and I were drilling down on a second ago. The best buyers are driving the neighborhoods. It just makes sense. They started their searches online. They're trying to look between this community, this community, this community. They decide they want to live in this community. Now then they want to look in this price point, this style home. You guys get it? That's what consumers naturally do. And then what happens is they drive the neighborhoods, as Julie said. They're looking for new signs. They're looking for coming soons. They're just that. Or frankly, they're just getting to know the neighborhood even better. They're going to see your sign. It's going to be large and in charge. The bright, obnoxious, really, 1-800-HOME-HOTLINE writers can be on the top. They're going to call because that's what people do. And look, there are ways. I know there's QWR codes and all the rest of it. But the problem with the QWR codes is you can't call them back. Because here, I'm going to walk you through this scenario. Be very clear what I'm describing to you. And I hope you guys, the simplicity of what I'm describing is what should resonate with all of you, because all of you can do it easily. All right. So they're parked in front of your listing. Or it could even be, by the way, another agent's listing. Let's say you don't have any listings, but the other agent isn't using 1-800-HOME-HOTLINE.com. Mm-hmm. Ask the agent if you can put a rider on their sign, or even put a corrugated plastic sign if it's legal per zoning in your neighborhood, offering the same information. Again, for free, 24-hour recorded information on this home. Call 1-800-HOME-HOTLINE. Call 1-888. 555-1212, extensions 1, 2, 3, 4. So someone's going to call the number on their cell phone, and then they're going to hear a recording. Ideally, it's a recording of your voice, and I'll tell you why in a second. So they're going to hear, this is what's going to happen. Ring, ring, and then they're going to hear a recording. You're calling about 123 Elm Street. This is a lovely 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath home with a fenced-in backyard, blah, 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 blah. You don't want to have it be too long, and you don't want to give too much information. You want to give it enough that they can, visualize what it's like. And now, with 1-800-HOME-HOTLINE.com, you can also have it so that it'll text them pictures of the house. But here's really what matters. This is a little detail, but remember I told you this. Don't give them the exact price. Give them a price range. So let's say the house is priced at $800,000. That's $799. Don't say, the house is priced at $799. Say the house is priced in the upper 700s. And the reason I want you to do that is because obviously you'll attract more buyers. But also, if you do a price adjustment on that listing, you're not going to have to re-record your 800homehotline.com recording, right? This is going to be an efficiency thing. Now, what then happens, they listen to the recording. You're thinking, Tim, how is this a big deal? Why are you excited about this? It's because what happens next, right? Wait for it. So then what's going to happen is that you're going to get a text. You're going to get a text, and it's going to say, Tim and Julie Harris just called on this listing, your listing, and here is their phone number. And then you're going to call them back. You heard what I just said. That's how it works. And I'm going to tell you technically why it works that way. Because when somebody calls your toll-free number, where the person they're calling is paying for the number, that's what happens is you can capture their phone number, even if it's not registered, even if it's a cell phone number. So they're going to be parked in front of your listing. Lay this out in your head again. They're going to call. They're going to hear the recording. You're going to get them, interested in the home, even, obviously more so than they were. Then they have an option of having pictures texted to them, or they have an option of then pressing 0 to speak to you directly. And I'll tell you right now, very few of them will speak 0. Or press 0. So what you're then going to do is you're going to get the SMS. You're then going to call them back. And here's what you're going to say. And don't change our scripts because they totally work. It's ring, ring, hello. And, they're the hello, right? And you're going to say, hi, this is Tim Harris with eXp Realty. As a courtesy, emphasize that word, listeners, when people call our 800 number, we like to give them a quick call back to see if they have any additional homes or any additional questions about the home they called about. And I see you just called about 123 Elm Street. Now they're going to say, here's what you're going to hear. Every single time, you're going to hear a pause because they're going to not believe it's real. That's what
they're going to say, are you a person? And you're going to say, why, yes, it is actually me.
Right.
What questions do you have that I can answer for you about 123 Elm Street?
Now, nowadays, they're going to think you're AI. Nowadays, they're going to think you're someone from a VA from some foreign country. But this is the reason I want you to do it in your voice, okay? So remember, They just heard your voice in the recording. Now they're hearing your voice when you're calling them back. And look, we can talk about how you can scale this up for a team or a brokerage. It all works kind of the same. When Julie and I sold real estate, the way we did it, as we would do the recordings, and then we had 7, sometimes 10 buyer's agents that worked for us back when buyer's agents were actually profitable, and they would have individual leads days, and we typically had 15 up to 50 listings. Sometimes we get close to 100 listings, and every single one of them would have an 800homehotline.com writer, and then each of the agents that worked for us would have a day where they were receiving those leads.
Okay, so let's get back to our script, right? So what happened was you called on the listing. You heard the recording, you hung up. The listing agent or the agent borrowing the listing got an SMS so they know not only did you get a call and what your phone number is, but also what you called on, which is important because now I know what I'm going to call you back about. You called on, 123 Elm Street. What questions do you have that I can answer for you? Now, because you set a price range, they're often going to say, what's the price?
And this is exactly right. Thank you for reeling me back in. So then what's going to happen is they're going to say, I'm interested in that house. Obviously, I just called about it, Now, some of you are thinking, well, some of them are going to be mad that you called them back and their phone number is unregistered. Guys, listen, I have never had that experience.
Never.
Ever.
They'll be thrilled that somebody actually called you back.
I personally have never had that experience. Ever. Not a single time.
Well, I can tell you one of our coaching clients, Sue and Rachel Romans, just took a listing for this very fact because they called back instantly. The person was like, you know what? You're the third agent I tried to call. I was calling on your sign because I have a house in this neighborhood. You're the only one who called me back.
Okay. Now you can see if you're, thinking forward here, how this is also going to set you up for killer listing appointments. So then what you're going to say is, back to the scripts. Julie's reeling me in. Say this is, in case we get disconnected, this is Tim Harris. What's your name, please? Okay, this is Bob. Okay, Bob, great to meet you. So let me check to see, make sure that home is still for sale, or let me check to see the current price on that house. By the way, Bob, which house in the neighborhood are you thinking about selling?
Listing lead, listing alert.
You guys see what I just did? And that's how it works. And look, you are not going to want to spend a lot of time bonding and talking about, what they had for lunch and all these other sort of gimmicky sales techniques that some of you are deploying. it's unprofessional. People don't want to have conversations like that. They want to know if the house is still for sale. They want to know the price. You're now asking what the price is, or you're now checking to make sure, whatever the current price is. You're getting out of them whether they have a house to sell. You know their phone number. You know their name. That's a killer lead. You guys understanding what we're doing here? By the way, that lead costs you nothing. Nothing.
Yes.
All right. So then you're going to say, Mr. Bob, look, it's that house is currently priced at $799, and then answer any other lingering questions they have. But there's a script that you're supposed to be using where you're going to actually start pre-qualifying them. And I don't frankly have the script memorized, and it's not in front of me, but it's on 800homehotline.com, and then Premier Coaching clients use it as well. But the gist of it is you're supposed to be going through the questions. By the way, because you're calling me directly, I assume you're not working with another realtor versus are you working with a real estate agent? The different techniques of asking questions, so you're going to get the lead, the buyer, or maybe even a seller, to actually answer your questions in a very professional and frankly truthful way, which is the reason why at the top of the call, before I told them the price, I'm asking them, by the way, which house in the neighborhood are you thinking about selling? Because they're going to tell you if they're thinking about selling the home. And here's what you're typically going to hear. If it's a new listing, or if the writer just showed up on even an older listing, you're going to get the neighbors that are checking the price. You're going to get the neighbors that are thinking about pricing, or thinking about maybe they're about to expire, or frankly, they're about to put their house for sale. They're running their own comps. You're going to get the best buyers that are driving through the neighborhood. The first calls you get off your 1-800-HOME-HOTLINE.com sign writer are always unbelievably powerful, great, fantastic leads. No referral fees. Have we mentioned that?
And listing leads, which are even more valuable than buyer leads, right?
Okay, so let's go back to that.
Yes.
All right, so you are going to get calls. You're going to then discover that probably, again, depending on the price point, you're going to discover that a lot of these folks have homes to sell prior to actually wanting to purchase something for all the reasons we just stated, all the reasons you guys know. Okay, that's great. Now you follow our script, follow the system, and now you create a listing lead out of what appeared in your life as a buyer lead. It's all a conversational outline. Oh, I don't use scripts. Okay, you do use scripts, but they just aren't working. Otherwise, you'd be selling more houses. Sorry to sound like a jerk, but I'm trying to make a point so you guys understand. All professionals use scripts. We call them conversation outlines. We want you to memorize our scripts at first, then we want you to internalize them, and then we want you to personalize them. We do want you to make our scripts your scripts, but in order for you to make your scripts, or our scripts your scripts, you have to memorize them first. The order in which the questions are asked makes all the difference. Don't make your own system.
Okay, so very well put, and I'm always impressed that you have all of that still in your head.
Me too.
And it's because, we made lots of money from this.
Dude, I can tell you so many stories right now.
Me too. And so, like Rochelle's got stories from working with us for that long. Okay, so let me bring you back to the script. One of the other questions you brought up, which home in the area do you plan on selling? That is determining if they're a listing lead. But remember, we didn't tell them the exact price. They called, they wanted to know the price. Let me look that up for you. Meanwhile, I've got just a couple of quick questions. So let me look that up just to make sure maybe, the exact price. What price has your lender told you not to go above?
Well, these are all part of the scripts, right?
Now, but let me show them why that matters. How do most agents handle sign calls right now?
Here's the price, goodbye.
That's too much, or it's not right for me, or whatever, blah, 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 buy. That is a lost lead, which is why some of you listening, be honest, don't actually return your sign calls. Or you've got in your head that I don't need any more buyers because there's no inventory to find them anyway. So some of you guys stopped using signs. It's crazy, right? So in fact, when you hot rod your sign using 1-800-HOME-HOTLINE and use your home brochure box and you use your reflective real estate sign, it is like attracting, flies to honey, right? Because the best buyers are coming by, and especially in the move up price ranges, they come with listings. So now back to the script. What's the price that your lender told you not to go above? Well, they told me not to go above $750. Well, what they're calling on is $799. I now can say, well, this home is a little bit over your range at $799. However, it looks like you really love Oak Creek. You're calling about this neighborhood, Oak Creek. Is that something that you've identified as your next neighborhood? Yes. Okay. Well, there's 3 or 4 other homes that are in your price range in Oak Creek that are $750 or less. And then you can go and talk about that. Now you have not lost that buyer/seller lead by telling them the price and getting hung up on.
Well, to Julie's point, make sure that you're following the script so you pull the listing leads out right at the top of the conversation. Again, a lot of you have been poorly trained, and what you think you have to do is form this fake friendship relationship with these quote unquote buyer leads, and then maybe you'll get around to talk to them about their listing. Talk to them about their listing first, because they're not going to transact until that house is for sale. Just because you're afraid of, essentially the listing process, maybe you think it's too pushy, all these thoughts that you're building up in your head, the sellers want you to take, the buyers, the real estate clients want you to take control. That's the reason you frankly do, or in some cases don't get paid. They want you to lead the way. They want to know they're working with someone that's caring and competent, that's going to deliver the result for them. That's the whole point of essentially following a proven system, and that's what you get with Premier Coaching. But back to 800homehotline.com. Now, I think we've I think we've drilled down on how to use this on the easiest way, which is on for sale signs. Mm-hmm. If you don't have listings, borrow another agent's signs. Choose a listing wisely. You put the 800homehotline.com writer on the right listing in the right neighborhood. You will have buyer leads raining in on you like you have never experienced before. Now, scale that up. Imagine if you had on 10 or 20 or 30 different signs. Extraordinary things will happen for you, and those leads cost you nothing. Now, I've shared this idea with agents, with teams, frankly. A lot of teams are calling Julie and I, and they're singing them, they're not doing well because their buyer agent business is dried up, because the buyer leads have gotten too much money, because it's 38% to this and 40% to that, and they're literally losing money on every single buyer side transaction. To which I asked them what their process is, and their process is nothing but buying buyer leads. Why are you doing that? If you can generate your own buyer leads, and I just told you a cheap and easy way, there's no SEO involved, you're right. There's no pay-per-click involved, you're right. There's no branding or marketing involved, you're right. This is you going to where the fish are in the pond and putting your hook in the water where the fish actually are, opposed to looking at the ocean and saying, damn, I hope I catch a fish today. You guys get it? This is actual, if you want to talk about marketing, this is one of the most powerful ways this is a direct response marketing thing. If some of you guys are old school like Julie and I when it comes to lead generation. Now, hopefully your brain is bopping around like ours is. You're going to put the 800homehotline.com phone number on your ads. If you're running any pay-per-click, have them call. You're trying to optimize a landing page. How hard is that to actually get someone to actually, fill out a form? And what if it's, even more complicated? The forms being shared with different websites, all this added complication that happens with online lead generation versus one lead, one callback, one pre-qualified lead. That is what 800homehotline.com is all about. You can put these obviously on brochure boxes. You can put them on, you can door knock with a flyer of buyers, sellers wanted. We shared that idea with you.
Wanted ad.
Exactly.
That's right. So what are we talking about? All of you listening, unless you just got your license this morning, okay, and even some of you. All of you have buyers who are looking for something that's hard to find. We still have low inventory. Inventory is bubbling up, but it is not to the point where you've got an abundance of listings for every buyer. So you create a wanted ad for your buyers. You're all used to, advertising or seeing advertising for listings. Advertise your buyers. So it might say something like, relocating family seeks Oak Creek up to X price, has to have at least 3,000 square feet, private backyard, a bonus, flexible closing date, all cash or pre-approved. You're literally advertising your buyers. So if you're thinking about selling anytime this year, they might be the buyer for you. Call me on my home hotline, 1-800-555-1212, and press, you can make your extension for that. You're going to capture them that way. So you can use it for door knocking. You can use it for just listed, just sold calls, anything you would normally put your phone number on.
Okay, so that is all great ideas. The sign is the number one place to use it, but here's the other way to use it. And this was the knockout punch that I was sharing with you guys earlier on today's show. All right, now you're at a listing appointment. Let's say you actually converted one of those 800homehotline.com sign writers to a listing appointment. Now you're sitting in front of the seller. You have no prior relationship. This is not a center of influence and past client. This is just an ordinary seller. They're virtual strangers. But you followed Tim and Julie Harris's coaching system. You sent the pre-listing pack. You did it exactly the way we said. You pre-qualified them. You have all the, the heavy lifting is already done. It's your deal at this point. Frankly, if you just follow the system, chances are you're going to take that listing. You're following our listing presentation. You're doing everything we suggest you do. You're going to sit back down at the kitchen table with that seller, and this is essentially the opening, salvo on our listing appointment. Our listing appointment is maybe 15 or 20 minutes, by the way. So, Mr. Seller, listen, we can, I can talk about a whole bunch of different things: marketing, lead generation, international luxury. I can talk about websites. I can talk about but here's what I want to know: what are the 2 or 3 things that are the most important things to you when you're making the decision of who the agent should be to sell your home? Like when you're deciding, you really cut through it. I know you looked at our pre-listing pack, so you know what our marketing plan is. You know what we're going to do. You know about our flexible fee and our communications guarantee. So you're familiar with all that. But what are the 2 or 3 things, and maybe it's just 1 or 2 things, that's fine as well, that are absolutely important boxes that must be checked before you decide who it is that you're going to hire for the job of selling your home? Now, you won't always have to ask that because sometimes they'll have already decided to list it with you. So, we'll show you how to properly gauge whether or not you need to ask that. But here's what they're always going to say. They're going to want to know least amount of time, least hassle, most net to them. They're going to say that in different ways, but that's the essence of how they're going to ask the question. Now, they're going to ask, some of them are going to ask about your marketing plan. If you're competing against an agent that's got a big bunch of marketing and I got 15 billion followers, and I know you guys have a lot of people like that in your marketplaces, 800homehotline.com will eviscerate them. And here's why. Because if they originally connected with you because they called one of your 800homehotline.com sign writers and you called them right back, all you've got to do is ask them the question, or they'll even tell you, like Julie insinuated, they'll say it. Look, I called 2 other agents about listing my home and they haven't even called me back yet. Or they called me back the next day. Or they had an assistant call me back, right? And then you can, maybe they don't say it, but you can say it to them. One of the biggest complaints that folks have when they list their home with a real estate agent, and remember, okay, let me go back to the 3 things, right? So they said, what's your marketing plan, let's say? Most net to me. These are the 3 things that they're really concerned about before they choose the agent that they're going to hire. And communication. Let's just say those are the 3 things. And then what you say, you write those 3 things down. You say, so Mr. Seller, just so that I'm clear, after you're 100% convinced, satisfied beyond a shadow of a doubt that I can, essentially meet your needs with regards to these 3 things, that I'll be the listing agent for you. All, assuming that everything works out and assuming you're comfortable with me. And this isn't the exact script, but this is the gist of it. They're going to say yes. And then just focus on those 3 things. That's the key. And when the first thing you're going to talk about usually is the marketing. Because the marketing is where you can really reel in 1-800-HOME-HOTLINE.com. Because the problem is every single agent in your marketplace has essentially what's going to look and feel like the same marketing plan, because that's all agents have been taught, right? The likes, the follows, the videos, the social this, the branding that, right? But what you're going to do is you're going to show them 1-800-HOME-HOTLINE.com. Now, let's say they didn't originally connect with you from having called one of your other sign writers. So what you're then going to do is you're going to demonstrate how it actually works. And you can do it 1 of 2 ways. You can actually show them an ad or a home brochure or a screenshot from an online ad. Or what Julie and I would do is we'd actually take a sign writer with us and we'd kind of sneak it in case we didn't actually need it. And then what we do is we put it on the table and we show it to them. And let's say, again, it's the first experience with it. And then what we'd ask them to do is call the number and put their phone on speaker. And this is exactly what will happen. The husband will always give you shit about doing it because he's a know-it-all.
Right,
I mean, pretty much always.
We understand. We don't need to do that.
Well, I don't want to hear a recording. And then you kind of have to, coax them into doing it. Yeah. So then they're going to call. Then they're going to hear the recording on the house. Now, the recording that they're hearing is a recording that you did on their house prior to you going on the appointment. Get it? So now they're listening to you talking about the glorious nature of their existing home that you haven't even listed yet. That right there is going to be a win for you.
They think that that's the cool part.
They think that's the cool part. And then what you're going to slowly do, and guys, I swear I remember doing this because it was so much freaking fun.
I know.
I always wear, a sports jacket, and I'd slowly pull my cell phone out of my sports jacket, and I'd put it right in front of them. And they'd think like, well, who cares? You have a cell phone, big deal. I mean, I was kind of reading their mind.
This is after they listened to the recording and hung up.
Right, and they hung up. And then all of a sudden I would get a text. And then the text would basically be their phone number, their names. And then you'd see them lean in and look at the phone like, they just spotted an alien. It was the most incredible thing. And then you'd literally pick the phone up, or you'd then dial that phone number back. Their phone would ring, and then you would say the script. Hello, this is Tim Harris with ABC Realty. As a courtesy, when people call our 800 number, we like to give them a quick call back, see if they have any questions about the home they called about. You have just closed the loop on time to lead, about lead follow-up, about what you're going to do to proactively get the home sold, urgency. What makes you different. We emphasize and drill down every single day the importance of furiously fast lead follow-up. You've just proven to them how your system works. Now, I will tell you something, an aside that's actually funny. After you list their house, you'll have 50% of the sellers, they'll actually test you.
Oh yeah, like that night.
Yeah.
As soon as they see the sign, they'll test you.
They'll test you. And sometimes they go into like the next day. They'll see if, okay, were they just doing it as part of a listing stage
Are
performance?
they full of crap or do they actually do this?
Exactly. And when they start seeing the call comes in out, if you're an individual agent or with one assistant, call all these leads back yourself because it's really going to, some of you I know, I'm competing against teams. And if I'm an individual agent and I'm calling somebody back, they're going to think somehow I'm less than a team. The exact opposite is true. And here, the upper end agents in the marketplace, in your marketplace, deal with all their own lead conversions themselves. They're the ones that are doing the furiously fast lead follow-up because they know they're the best at it. So you've now demonstrated to the seller at that listing appointment one of the key differentiators between you and everybody else. And really, this covers so many different things. It's an absolute knockout, Mike Tyson style punch to the head as far as them being impressed with what you're doing. That in itself will usually get you the listing appointment. And this isn't just a gimmick. You know, I have so many likes and so many followers on Instagram. Guys, those are gimmicks. You can buy likes and you can buy followers on Instagram.
We're talking about live buyers here.
Right, exactly. And then you can say to Mr. Seller, listen, and there's scripts to go along with this, obviously. Yeah. Mr. Seller, you're competing against like 3 homes in your neighborhood right now, and chances are over the next 6 months or 90 days, you're going to be competing against 3 or more or 10 or more or whatever. When an agent gets a call on their listing of the house across the street that's also for sale, is that agent going to do anything to try to sell your listing, or they're going to obviously try to sell their own listing? They're obligated to try to sell their own listing as the listing agent, and that's clearly what they're going to focus on. But here's the thing. When it's going to be one of these, will the agent call me back? Is it going to go to voicemail? But when they call on your sign, and right on top, a bright fluorescent for free 24-hour record info on this home, call 1-800-555-1212, extension 345, right? They're going to call on your listing. I'm going to call them back. We call everyone back from this time to this time. We used to have, frankly, if on the upper end listings, Julie and I would call them back ourselves because we made millions of dollars calling our own leads back. If the listing was more than $1 million, we would put a special rider on the sign. We knew what the extension was, and those were the leads that we would call back because they always had homes to sell, and we always converted those to listings.
And they super duper duper appreciated it because they're busy professionals most of the time. And keep in mind, they're also looking to make a move, and they are literally having those experiences. They will tell you, the reason I'm listing with you guys is because A, you answered the phone, or because you called me back immediately. And I know exactly what you're talking about because we're wanting to move to XYZ neighborhood. And no, but I have to wait. And what happens is I drive past their sign and I dial and I get a recording that says, spell the last name of the agent. I wanted to get information on the property.
Or it goes to some agent that doesn't, a floor agent that doesn't know anything about the listing. And then you can actually really kind of drill down on the really discomfort and the horrible way that lead management is handled with websites. So, Mr. Seller, you went to that. You maybe called about a house or saw a house on Zillow, and you do know that the agent who's the featured agent on that particular listing isn't the listing agent. They're just an agent that's paying to be placed there. Oh, yeah, we hate that experience. We never do any lead follow-up anymore on those websites. Well, that's what's happening to consumers. And then when you're showing them the direct contact that you can get when you have 800homehotline.com sign writer on their sign, they're immediately going to get why you're different. They will hire you again just from the nature of this, but also because they see you're actually working to sell the listing. Psychologically, this checks so many boxes for so many sellers. Most sellers don't know what the hell you do as soon as you get the listing contract signed.
It's true.
You're showing them what you're doing. You are a proactive lead generator. You're chasing down the prospective buyers for their homes. You're pre-qualifying. You're asking questions. That's what your job is. That's what they think your job is, and you're actually doing it. If you don't feel excited about this, I want you to imagine being in front of a listing appointment this weekend. And I want you to imagine you are now competing against the best agents in your marketplace, but all of them do it passively. All of them are talking about their past successes and their awards and their branding and their marketing and their golden retriever. And maybe you sprinkle some of that in as well. You give them your pre-listing pack that you got from Premier Coaching. You've kind of got the listing, or at least you've won the right to be presenting and earn the right to have the listing. And then you present this to them. What happens in their minds? How do you not urgently go to the top of the list of the agents they're considering? I mean, if this doesn't make you guys excited, it's because you don't have, frankly, enough experience going on listing appointments to know how much fun they can be when you know you're going to win.
That's absolutely right. So this does tick all the boxes, and it's basically practically free. And I think, just as an aside, the new FCC rules about, how leads are going to be disseminated and buyers have to opt
Online
in
leads.
online.
Yeah.
I think that this defeats that too. Would you agree with that?
Well, so
Because there's no buying of lead going on here.
right. So sometimes when you're getting into the weeds that we shouldn't be getting into because we're not lawyers, but the fact is, you've heard us talk about this in the podcast before. There are going to be laws put in place that is going to essentially kill the online lead generation. The big portals that are selling leads, they're going to. Frankly, I don't know how they're going to stay in business. I don't see other. So what's going to happen is a consumer is going to go to, say, for example, Zillow, and right now, it's kind of, let's just be honest, not really that clear about who the hell the listing agent is.
Yeah.
And it's obscure because they're sending those leads to buyer's agents or sending them to flex agents who are then sharing them with their. It's not a great experience for the consumer. Well, the FTC, after getting billions of complaints about this, have passed a new law or guideline that's going to change the way that those businesses operate. This is already done. This isn't hypothetical. It is happening. Okay. So then what's going to happen is the consumers are going to go to the Zillow or whatever website. They're going to see 123 Elm Street. They're going to see the suggested agent at the top, the agent that's paying to sort of make it look like it's their listing. Let's be honest, that is how it's designed.
And they fill out the form. I want more information.
Right. Now, what's going to happen is that leads form, let's say you were a flex agent, and let's say that lead was going directly to you or your team. But what's now going to happen is that consumers are going to have to choose from a pull down some of these other companies that are selling that same lead to multiple agents. Some of them are selling to 6 and 10 agents. So you wonder why your buyer leads aren't any good. That's why, because that same lead is being sold to a whole bunch of other agents. So then what's going to happen is the consumer's actually going to have to choose which of the agents in the pull down they're going to want to have their information shared with. And no, a little checkbox, it actually says this in the guideline, Julie and I read it, a little checkbox that's some sort of coverall. I understand my lead is going to be shared with my information is going to be shared with numerous different brokers and whatnot. That's not going to do it. The consumer's actually going to have to consent to the individual agents the lead is being shared with. Now, I want you to think about that. You're a consumer. You're going to Zillow or some other website, and you're now deciding you want more information on this particular house. You fill out the leads for them, and now you're having to pull from a litany of 10 different choices who you want that lead shared with. You know what you're going to do. You're not going to choose any of them. You're going to bounce off. And so what's going to happen is all of you who have grown up in real estate, only buying buyer leads from these portals that are selling you these dubious leads, they're not really, I can't see their business case, their business model going forward. Be aware of that. You're going to have to learn to be a proactive lead generator, whether you like to or not.
Well, that's why I brought it up, because this is removing all of those factors. You want the least resistance and the least complication between you and a really great lead. And I have to say, when it is a call like you demonstrate on a listing or on a home brochure from your listing, from your sign, the quality of those calls really is absolutely superior. And you want to have the shortest amount of time between speaking
That's
with
the
somebody
key.
like that. And you want to have the fewest obstacles. They don't need to opt in. And, agents will say, well, I already have QR code set up. Okay, so some of you live in a snowy tundra. Is somebody really going to get out of their car, take a picture from your sign of the QR code, fiddle around with their phone and their gloves on, and do all of that? Not likely.
Well, the other thing that you can use this for, there's so many different ways. The creative amongst you will have your minds bouncing around right now, realizing all the ways you can help, you frankly can make money from this. Let's say, for example, you create, and you can have ChatGPT-4 write this for you. ChatGPT-4, write an ebook on, tips sellers should have when selling their homes and, this market, whatever. It's going to churn out a nice little ebook for you. So then what you're going to do is you're going to run an ad. Maybe you do a special promotion in your community that you specialize in, offering this free report on how to prepare your home for sale, whatever, right? Whatever it is. And then you're going to say, if you want this report, call 1-800-HOME-HOT, 1-800-555-1212 and put an extension 555, whatever it is, whatever number you assign it to. And then what they're going to do is they're going to call, and it's going to be your voice. Thank you for calling about the free report. I can email you, leave your information, I'll send it to you, or you can just press, 1 and the information will be texted to you and you can just download it. Then that information is then shared with you immediately. So the information will come back, the seller's phone number or the prospective seller's phone number will be sent to you, the number they just called from, even if it's a cell phone number, and you'll call them back and you'll say, you know what? You know that they're a lead. You know that they just called because they're interested in selling their home. Otherwise, they wouldn't have wanted that report. And now you go through the pre-qualifying questions again, and you find out what their time frame is. Ideally, Mr. Seller, how soon would you like this home to be sold? Those types of things. Would you like me to do a CMA? It's essentially a real estate agent's version of an appraisal. Give you a good idea of what your price range is going to be. And you guys follow the script, follow the process, and now you're setting up listing appointments. You get it? Why do you make it more complicated than that?
I was just thinking this is a fantastic tool, especially for agents that don't like to proactively pick up the phone and dial lead after lead after lead. This is literally getting leads to call you.
It's reverse prospecting.
It is reverse prospecting.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful thing. And when you get really good at this, and this is scalable, right? So
Totally.
the more listings you have, especially really great listings that you're going to get a lot of calls. And I was thinking also as you were talking, they have such an advantage to being in a low inventory market, their volume of calls.
It's going to be off the charts.
Off the charts. That's a huge advantage, right?
I thought it's something. Look, like I said, I could
We
talk
could go on for hours.
forever. Well, it's because okay, I'll give you guys a story. Story time.
Warning.
All right. I'm standing in our kitchen at 7334 Berkeley Square South. And it's like 8:30 on a Friday night. And I promise you, I did not want to be working. Okay. I get a message from our IVR, 800homehotline.com. Okay. I get this message. Someone just called on this particular listing. Well, this was one of our listings for $1.3 million or $1.6 million. I don't remember what. I'm going to call that lead back. Remember, I told you guys, Julie and I were definitely cherry picking because we knew a lot of those prospective buyers had homes to sell. All right, I called this person back. Okay, they were relocating themselves and like 6 other employees. This was the CEO of a new company that had just been hired, and he was bringing all these other presidents in, and all of them were spending at least $800,000. Now, that's from me calling that one person back.
Immediately.
Immediately. That's the key. You got to call him back right away. And it was at 8:30, right? He wasn't expecting anybody to call him back. He didn't know me from Adam. He didn't know me from anybody else. He didn't ask me any pre-qualifying questions about our experience level, how long we've been in real estate, whether we have a golden retriever. He didn't even ask what we had for lunch. Hopefully I'm making you guys laugh. You get the point? The fact that we called them back was all it took for him to have full faith and confidence in us. It was our game to lose at that point. He then referred all that other business to us. All those people used us to buy their homes. And then guess what happened? All of them got transferred within the same 6 months because he opened up a new division, took all of his people with him basically. So all those listings became our listings. And the new people that came in and bought those listings also became our customers.
One phone call created that.
One lead that I called back from 1-800-HOMEHOTLINE.com got all that. Now, you wouldn't have gotten that if it was a web form that was put in your CRM. You wouldn't have gotten that if it was a call that went to your voicemail, if they even left you a voicemail. You wouldn't have gotten that if it was a lead that went to, some VA that hopefully is calling back and, is remembering to speak English when they call your lead back. You guys get it?
Or only your broker's phone number on your sign.
Exactly. This is the difference. If you want to know what the top agents in the world know, they know in essence of what I just said. Urgency, furiously fast lead follow-up, knowing what to say, meeting the customers where they're at when they're ready to actually make a decision who they're going to work with. Simple fact, new agents, this is should be a real light for you. Most consumers work with the first agent that they meet. How about that for a fact? First agent that they speak with, not the first agent that they email, or the first agent that drips on them, or the first agent that, not the first agent's billboard that they see. The first agent that they speak with is almost always the agent that they'll work with. So you're wondering, experienced agents, why is that particular buyer working with that new agent? It's because that new agent was furiously fast and had energy and enthusiasm, and that was all it took for that consumer to want to work with them. I mean, like it or not, for the most part, consumers don't differentiate one agent from the other. They don't. I mean, I'll tell you for sure they don't, because Julie and I, when in our early 20s, sold over 100 homes at our first year. Well, I mean, we weren't getting a lot of, what is your
clients? Because we didn't have any.
Right, exactly. They knew we didn't have any experience, right? They didn't care because we were willing to work. We were willing to hustle. We were willing to have energy and enthusiasm. They were attracted to that. You all can replicate that no matter what your education experience, no matter what your age is, it doesn't matter. Use the systems that work, and then you will experience frankly, what thousands of other agents have experienced. We are so unbelievably excited about 1-800-HOMEHOTLINE.com. I love the new release version that just came out. Mm-hmm. So your homework is to go over to 1-800-HOMEHOTLINE.com. It's $37 a month. It's unlimited time. There's no gotcha fees. There's no extra expenses. There's no upgrades. It's $37 a month. That's it. Now, if you're a team or a broker, then it's a little bit extra depending on how many users you have. And you're going to get a dedicated toll-free number with unlimited extensions, interactive texting, exclusive virtual brochure box. That's the thing I told you about where you can send them pictures. Unlimited minutes, up to 1,000 properties. Boy, having 1,000 listings would be nice, wouldn't it?
I know, right?
Okay, and 1 month free with the annual plan. So you guys want to move forward on this idea right away. Do this before you need it, because don't go on a listing up. If you want to know what's going to ultimately make you different, if you want to know what your true USP, you want to know what really is going to make a seller want to list with you, or frankly, a buyer to choose to work with you, it's going to be this type of thing. It's going to be the thing that everyone complains about with their real estate agents, lack of communication. Mm-hmm. You have now proven to them you're the exact antithesis of the average agent because of your furiously fast lead follow-up. And frankly, the fact that you're willing to do what other agents aren't willing to do. You're a proactive lead generator. Let your mind go crazy on this and you'll be excited. And then I think, when we talk with you guys in 60 or 90 days, when you started taking listings from this or started closing more buyers from this, you will feel the same way that we do. Anything else you'd like to say?
Well, what I'd like to say is two things. One is I very much appreciate when you say, why do you guys make it so complicated? Because there's so many things that complicate their lives these days. This is to uncomplicate the process between you talking to motivated sellers and buyers, okay? So that's number one. Number two is, as excited as we both were on today's podcast to talk about this, because, we did make tons of money. Our coaches and our coaching clients are, that are experiencing this, same for them. We still just got to the tip of the iceberg because there's so many other fun things you can do with this. One last little mini thought, because they're going to think, well, what if somebody calls at 11 o'clock at night? Well, no, we don't recommend that you call them in the middle of the night. Most towns have rules that you're not supposed to call after 9 p.m. But some of our best leads did come in the middle of the night. They were doctors driving home from the hospital. They were relocating people on a different time zone. You call them back first thing in the morning. Again, what is 1-800-HOME hotline? It is a call capture. It captures phone numbers. It captures what they called on. That way you can follow up on them.
That's the key thing is you've got it. The real key differentiator in a world where everyone's been taught to drip on leads, where everyone's been taught to basically be a passive lead generator, do the exact opposite of what everyone else is doing, and you're going to experience unlimited amounts of success. Remember, I gave you that example when I was standing in the kitchen and I called that lead back. That guy was a professional. He was a CEO. The very fact that I was following up with that lead, I guarantee you he was thinking to himself, I wish my sales team acted like this, right?
Absolutely.
And these are the things, guys, that make you different. If you want to know how to actually make yourself look and feel different in the marketplace, it's what we're teaching you in Premier Coaching. It's what we just shared with you. It's having a proven pre-listing pack. It's knowing what to say and how to say it. It's doing the same thing over and over again, because what happens is you build muscle that way. You build confidence that way. You slowly see yourself becoming frankly, the best version of a real estate practitioner, the best version of you as a real estate practitioner that you could. We're incredibly excited for all of you. Be very motivated. And I think this is true. Mm-hmm. And I want you to argue with me if you don't.
Okay.
I think now is the best time to be a listing agent since probably 2009. Really to focus on it.
I 5,000% agree with you. I was just talking to Tracy at Housing Wire. She asked me interesting kind of a sister question to that, is trends and stuff like that. And my answer was, agents who are proactive and do things like what we talked about on today's podcast are being paid back by the market at such a higher level faster than any time before. Partially because we still suffer from low inventory and everybody's scrambling for the next listing, right? Partially, mostly because of what you said. People don't have urgency. They have all these barriers, texts and messages and all of these opt-ins and QR codes and all the rest. So it's been overcomplicated. But the fact of the matter is, the best, when we say the best leads, what we mean is people who are actually going to transact really fast, who want to buy that house, who have a house they not only want to sell, they have to sell today. These are, when we say best, we mean in terms of timing, right?
They've already funneled themselves.
They have self-identified.
Right. That's the reason they're driving the neighborhoods if they're calling off a sign. They funneled themselves. No funneling necessary.
Yes. And so when you connect with them at the time that they're asking questions, when you give them what they want, you answer their questions when they have them.
When they have the interest in it.
When they have the interest in it, with urgency, then to answer your question, the listing agents more than ever are being paid back like in spades because this stuff works so much better in a market like this where, remember, of everything that went pending, we still have on average 3 offers for every sale. That means we could have 3 times the listings and we would still be even Steven.
It is shocking how simple real estate can be and how overly complicated most people make it. And oftentimes there's the psychology behind that is people feel uncomfortable maybe subconsciously about the amount of money they're making per real estate transaction. And they think it has to be more complicated than it is.
To feel like they earned it.
To feel like they earned it. And there's a lot of psychology. We talk about that in Premier Coaching and obviously private coaching. But that oftentimes is the thing that's holding a lot of you guys back. This is a simple, elegant, beautiful business as long as you don't overcomplicate it. And time to lead, getting to the lead first, and then actually having a professional conversation with them, that is going to be the key differentiator. You don't have to worry about all the whiz-bang marketing and branding and all the rest of it. If you're getting to them first, if you're pre-qualifying them, they're going to choose to work with you. After you've gone through the process like we've just described, and you pre-qualified them, you have asked them questions, you've done all of this, and then they go and they look for more information on you on socials and whatever. That's how the best leads act. They're not going to socials and whatever. Now, look, you got to think about this, guys, and be really clear in your heads. The best leads are calling off signs. The best leads are driving the neighborhoods, obviously. The worst leads are the ones that are online. And you also got to think about this too. There are people out there that are teaching you guys to have a really big presence on TikTok. You need to explore what the demographics are in TikTok, what the demographics are on Instagram. You need to look to see what the average age of the average TikTok user is. It's like a 12-year-old, kid in 3rd grade or whatever.
Yes, but here's the thing that this is really important. If I go to Instagram or TikTok, I'm going to see what's on Instagram or TikTok. If I'm calling your sign, I'm calling because I want to see the house. There's a big difference. I don't go to those portals to see houses, right? At least not as my prevailing thought. I go there to maybe shop or to see what my friend's doing or to see some cute cat videos to make myself in a better mood. I didn't go there to look at a house in a specific neighborhood that I want to buy in today. When I call on the sign, I am very specific and very motivated for that particular thing that you happen to have.
That's right. And now they will, like I was trying to, hopefully help you guys understand, they will sometimes research you on the socials, but at that point, they've already made their decision. 99% of their decision has been made to work with you because of the fact that you were calling them back right away, because of the fact that you pre-qualified them,
right.
And you've had a conversation with them, and they've answered a bunch of your questions. If they've answered a bunch of your questions, you have elevated yourself from just mere realtor to the realtor they're going to work with because of the fact that they've frankly been willing to sit on the phone with you or maybe in person and while you pre-qualified them, help them to move them forward towards the goal that they want to accomplish, which is selling and ideally buying a house.
Well, the greatest pre-qualifier to a real estate client is that you communicated with them.
Yeah, exactly.
And with urgency when they had their questions. It's like a baked in top level pre-qualification. Like, why would I spend a lot of time researching you? And they will to make sure that, you're real and all that. But why am I going to spend a lot of time on that when you've already communicated with me? You've given me what I wanted. You've asked me a bunch of questions and probably you've even set an appointment with me, right? So lead with the appointments and then backfill with all the social stuff.
Hopefully you guys are, you're resonating with us. Hopefully you're understanding the power of being a proactive lead generator. What is your homework? Go to 1-800-HOME-HOTLINE.com and subscribe. If you don't have any listings, borrow somebody else's listings. Use some of the other free report ideas that we gave you to generate leads as well. Use this information so that you can start generating more leads for basically free. It's an unlimited number of leads. It's a flat fee of $37 a month if you're an individual agent. Just go to 1-800-HOME-HOTLINE.com or click the link below in today's show description. In the meantime, guys, thank you for listening to Julie and I go down memory lane with all the great experiences we had using our system back when we sold real estate. And frankly, all the other coaching clients have used a similar system or our system, during the last 20 plus years of Julie and I coaching. It really is the secret sauce. It's something that's going to, steal something from Red Bull. It will give you wings. You'll look forward to and be excited about getting those leads, but then presenting how your system works when you're on a listing appointment. In the meantime, guys, thank you for keeping this the number one listened to daily podcast for real estate professionals in at least the United States. Have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you on the show tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.